All right, welcome everybody to take 4 of Coaches on Call. I'm starting our timer in 30 minutes or less. Today's topic is challenges and opportunities in a professional's market. Thank goodness we're getting out of the crazy days of the last 2 years, which is what everybody has wanted. And now it's kind of funny because everybody's kind of flipping out.
Yeah.
But, right? Be careful what you wish for. But we're not going to get into everything that a professional's market is going to lend itself to. We're shifting, not going to be a full buyer's market, not going to be a full seller's market. You can call it a normal market, but we like to call it a professional's market. This is where agents can shine. And right now, as we're in the middle of the change, it's so great for us to be more proactive and intentional than we were probably in 2008 when we were pretty much sideswiped. You know, we were cut off at the knees. Nobody saw it coming, even though we should have. So this one we kind of knew was coming, but it also brings through a lot of challenges, but fantastic opportunities. So we're going to kind of talk about 3 to 4 little areas today. And then finish up as we always do with some helpful takeaways for you as the professional helping your clients. So welcome. Happy to have you. I have Lisa Etheridge. She's our broker support manager. And I have Lori Hamilton, the other half of Coaches on Call. And I'm Holly. So welcome. So just to open it up, one of the challenges we have been talking about, and this is a little bit of a challenge, is everybody has loved all the increase in their equity. Yay! Look how much my home is worth. I sold it for $250,000 that I bought it 4 years ago. I mean, crazy, crazy appreciation levels. And what comes with that? The property tax bill.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
The bad side of that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, you know, in the Atlanta market, kind of what's happening, what you're seeing with people's, you know, the tax bills are coming out now. They're due at the end of the year. So what's been happening?
It's been crazy. Not everybody has been affected, but a lot of people are, and it's been huge. We've seen some people with their tax obligation double, if not triple in some instances, and it's blowing people away depending on the value of your home. Maybe your house was undervalued previously according to the tax assessor, and now they've bumped it up because you've had all these inflated sales recently, and that makes a huge difference. All of a sudden, come the fall, the tax assessor is asking, and your mortgage company is asking for this extra huge chunk, several $1,000s of additional money, when we're in a challenging economic market already. So that's putting strain on a lot of homeowners. Where do I come up with this sudden big chunk? And then how do I then adjust and shift? Because your mortgage is going to be readjusted come January, and you'll have a longer term higher payment because of that. So it's a big financial adjustment. It's everybody gets excited, like Holly said, great, my home is worth more. Everyone loves to see that, you know, equity that they're growing in their homes, but the downside is more taxes. That challenge though opens up so much great opportunity for the professional agents. This is one of the huge areas where I think that professional and the part-time agent, it's really going to stand out. The part-time recent agent who's just kind of doing this while it's been a really easy market to put a sign up and sell a home, they're not going to think about connecting to their clients and saying, hey, let's look at your property tax bill. Is it accurate? Did they just do something automatic? Maybe it should be higher, but not 3 times as high. How can we go back and look at that? And so your professional realtors are going to check in with their clients and say, hey, send me your tax bill. Let me do my own property analysis, price analysis for you, and figure it out and coach you through protesting that if you can.
Yeah.
In your county.
You know, I think we can take some of the good with the bad with this, like, because here's something else. And, you know, we mentioned this is a professionals market and you're like, this is an opportunity. So yes.
Mhm.
Okay. We did have something great happen. Everybody's equity went up X amount %, whatever that is. Maybe they gained 200,000 equity. I don't know. Yes, they're going to get hit with some taxes. So that's kind of a hard thing, but as an agent, reach out because maybe you help them appeal it. Or if anything, you're starting a conversation with them, right? And
Yes.
they know you're different. You're not just the average agent that's just going to be like, I'm going to avoid this conversation with them because I'm worried about it. No, you're going to help them dive in and, hey, let's talk this through. Another thing though, yes, they've gotten, maybe they got pinched on taxes, right? Maybe another professional, from a professional standpoint, another positive you can bring with them is some of them may be able to drop their PMI now. That's another
Great. Yes.
They can drop their PMI. It depends. Maybe they didn't have PMI. Okay, but that's fine. At least you can have the conversation about it. And like you said, Lisa, opportunity as a professional. Yes, this can hurt them a little bit depending on how you look at it, but there's different ways. Let's make them feel okay about all this. Like, let's show them, yes, this happened. And then it did cause a ripple effect for this, but guess what else happened? Maybe you now can, you're, you know, that 80-20 rule, you know, you've got 80%, you've got more equity in your home and you can now get rid of your mortgage insurance.
That's a great point. You're right. If you're someone whose taxes have gone up that much, then you probably do fall into that category where you may have gained enough equity to drop the PMI and it'll balance out the shift in the interest and taxes. And that's where having your professional realtor who's also connected to that lender who's going to be great and advise you of those things to weigh the pros of maybe, you know, making a great opportunity to refinance or do something different.
I mean, that could lower, I mean, if their PMI, you know, is obviously in their payment, maybe that'll help, maybe just a little, you know, lower their payment because their escrow could be going up now if they escrow and their taxes went up. So I don't know, it could maybe be a wash, maybe it's not, but why not, as a professional, you be able to reach out to them? Holly, you always talk about what are the touches, because everybody sometimes struggles as a professional agent with the touches of reaching out to their past clients of what to say. How relevant is this?
Yes.
And I think it's great because when we get our mortgage, a lot of times we tell people don't rent because you never know, they could raise the rent. You know, there's no guarantee. They could decide they want to sell the house right now and then you have to go find another place and you don't know what that's going to be. This is kind of causing that same thing. I mean, typically mortgage payments adjust. We're used to that. Mine went from 14 something to 15, 17. And a lot of times we always tend to assume that it's taxes, but if your tax bill doubled and you don't have the money to come up with that shortage, you're going to end up just opting for the larger payment. Now you have a larger monthly payment. The cost of stuff, I mean, my mom called me this morning. She said, oh my gosh, what I was paying $2.95 for before is like $7. You know, somebody that's on a fixed income, she's losing out, you know. So think about what that's gonna do. But especially in like Gwinnett County, you know, the bills come out and then they get that mortgage statement at the end of the year. It's a great time for you to start having those conversations because we also have the issue of homeowners insurance is also going up. And, you know, last year, before all this happened, we were always saying, listen, if your mortgage payment adjusts, don't just assume that it was your tax bill. Take a look at your homeowner's insurance because a lot of times you get the renewal statement and you just file it away. Like you never really look at it if you didn't have a claim. But I'm telling you, I just got even my car insurance. I just got my bill today. It went up $40 for a 6-month period for my car and we didn't have a claim or anything. And I'm now hearing things about insurance companies going bankrupt. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I think we need to be bringing these things up. And if you follow, you know, the top 50, the system that we teach is a different touch every month. Typically January and February is about homestead. You know, when the tax bills come out, that's another great conversation piece at the end of the year. You're talking about the mortgage statements that's going to come out and what's going to happen there if it's a shortage. So again, when you build these into your client care bow tie funnel system, you're ready to have these conversations and you've already been doing your research like we have. So hopefully we're prompting folks to think about not only the property tax, but also the homeowner's insurance. So
That's true.
you know, that's a good thing to think about. And like you said, maybe it's an opportunity to get rid of the PMI or refinance or whatever. Some people may have had higher interest rates when they purchased the home. I think they just came back down a little bit. So there's definitely a movement, and they're still
It is.
fantastic.
Yeah.
But
You
so
know,
those
along that with the insurance, you bring up
Mhm.
a good point, Holly, to think about all those areas with insurance too, to make sure you're properly insured, even if it's not long term, that we have these inflated prices. You have to, you know, insurance is there for that emergency, for the chance you never want to use it, but if you do, you want it to work. So if your insurance is one that's not a guaranteed replacement value, if it was based just on the appraised price of or purchase price of, you know, when you purchased the home, you know, 5 or more years ago, if something catastrophic happened and your house burned down tomorrow, what would your insurance company pay for? So to check with your insurance agent, as a realtor reaching out, connecting all of these members of your professional team and getting another insurance evaluation. Make sure people are properly insured so that if something goes wrong, they can get make sure the agent knows their home is upgraded or that they've done a renovation, but that you're insured for the value of your home today.
What a great little video you could do, one with your lender about, you know, their rate, getting rid of PMI, and then you could get your team member from your insurance
Mhm.
and do a little video about that. I mean, what great content for the professional, you know, that really understands the importance of sharing relevant, valuable information from a professional's standpoint.
Yes, I love that because that's what makes you stand out as the professional, is having that team of professionals. A team doesn't mean that you have 5 other agents working with you. You have that team, that expert, trusted lender that you know will always call you back and it's going to not lead your clients wrong, that you have that expert insurance agent that's going to make sure people are covered properly. So bringing your knowledge and your team of professionals knowledge to your clients is the best gift ever. So you can help them save money, make the most of this challenging situation, you know, like you said, turning this challenge into an amazing opportunity to reach out and show them that even when they aren't buying and selling a house, you are there to make sure that they are in the best place possible.
Exactly.
You
So
know, this
that
reminds me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this reminds me, since we're talking about it, you're like, you have a whole team and everything like that. This reminds me, of course, good old Jared James, who I like a lot, but he was like, you know, talk to them about a portfolio review. Because, you know, if you've got investments and if you have a financial planner, they usually do like a yearly review with you. What if you as a real estate professional came in and said, hey, to your clients, hey, once a year, I want to do a review with you. Let's see how your house is performing. How are these things? Let's talk about your PMI. Let's talk about your homeowner's insurance. Let's talk about your taxes. Like, what a great way to get FaceTime. And as well as, I mean, then you're kind of, they remember you and then they may know somebody and it can just snowball from there. So like, there's always opportunities when challenges come up.
Absolutely. And that is where I want to take the conversation now, is with current clients. And something that popped in my head, I guess because when I get into the MLS, I'm seeing a lot of back on markets.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, with interest rates changing, people were qualified at a very low interest rate and they may have not purchased yet, but they may just assume that, oh, I'll still be okay. So they may not have gone through a full blown reevaluation with their lender. And how about new construction? People that got under contract with a thought of, you know, maybe they were just going to live high on right at the edge of their budget. And now, even though their ratios may not change from debt to income, consumer goods have gone up. So just the cost of living, where you thought $1,200 a month was going to be a piece of cake, but now when you're paying over double for gas, double for groceries, like, is that 1,200 still viable? And then what's happening for the people that are under contract? So what do y'all think about having those conversations, and what are you guys seeing from some of these back on the markets?
I've seen that become a huge problem recently. In our office, so many of the buyers that are coming to our listings are having that issue mid-transaction. They're having to change course exactly because of that. They're, got pre-qualified maybe a month ago, maybe longer ago, depending on their situation, and they've been shopping for homes based on that information. And our market is changing so quickly right now. 2 weeks ago is outdated old news for their loan. And so they get under contract, and a week or so into it, if they aren't working that with that true professional lender, then they're all of a sudden realizing, hey, I can't get that conventional loan. I don't have 20% down anymore because interest rates have gone up, or the ratios have changed because now the cost of living is gone up. And so people are adjusting for that differently when you're looking at your loans. And so they're having to switch midstream from conventional to FHA. And that makes everybody panic. Nobody likes change in the middle of a transaction.
Right.
And I'm seeing it happen a lot of times at a really inopportune time when maybe there originally wasn't a real financial contingency. Now they're having to switch gears and go FHA, or maybe they don't realize it until after their financing contingency is over. In one way, it's great that these buyers still are motivated, still want to purchase homes, and they're willing to shift gears to make it work. But nobody likes to change. And so then you are switching to FHA, and some sellers might get nervous, thinking, okay, now they don't have as much cash. Is that more risky? It'll make them more nervous.
Let me stop you there. And you'll just have to refresh my memory. So they are able to change the financing type unilaterally, or does there have to be any type of agreement?
Great question. So right here, no, not unilaterally. They can do any type of conventional loan. It doesn't have to be the one that they put on their financing a conventional loan exhibit. But if they make a change to FHA or VA or USDA, it has to be a mutual agreement, a signed amendment, where buyer and seller agree that it's shifting to that.
And if there's not agreement, is there a release of earnest money at that time, or not necessarily? What happens?
So that is exactly where we're starting to have problems, because this is kind of a new problem. I think it's throwing a lot of agents that maybe aren't professionals and aren't 100% confident with the contract. It's throwing them off their game because it doesn't fit the usual pattern. So at that point, when they want to switch, a lot of times the buyers and their agents, they're kind of trying to do it secretly, not in a bad way, but behind the scenes, just still trying to make things work, and maybe haven't let the listing agent and seller know until everything, of course, is a problem and they're having trouble. But the way our contracts are written, you're not even allowed to pursue or apply for FHA without both parties' consent. So, which is really, really strict. And so that gets into issues, and the way contracts have been written here recently, there's a lot of times not a financing contingency timeline. So these buyers are kind of getting stuck. They're just trying to shift gears, trying to find some way to buy the house and not totally lose everything.
So if they want to change, what you're saying is that they do it behind the scenes in hopes that they get it approved, and then they're like, hey, we switched, but we're still good.
Yes, exactly. And then they'll say, hey, we want to switch, we're all good. By the way, now we have a second appraiser that wants to go out tomorrow.
And an amendment.
I actually got a call from an agent in the office today about that exact thing. And they're like, hey, someone wants to go out for a second appraisal. They got the first appraiser was good. We're past that. There's no contingencies. But now they're telling me they want to switch to FHA and the FHA appraiser needs to go out tomorrow. And so they're kind of like, whoa, all of this. And so they're glad that the buyer's still working towards that. But then you don't want to risk the, okay, well, what if something goes wrong on the FHA appraisal? They could make demands. They, are they going to come up with a totally different number on the appraisal?
But is the buyer in default is my question.
Yes. So per the for the GAR contract, yes, just by applying for the FHA loan, they're in default. And so there's been, I think, one transaction, and this has been such a big issue in our office over the last, maybe 2 months. We've had, I think, one transaction where it really fell apart and they were in default, and we ended up, the seller collected the earnest money as a result of that. The others, it was ups and downs and sideways, but everybody still had the same goal in mind, and so we were able to work it out and get people still to closing. But it meant a lot of shifting for everybody.
But I love what you just said, because I think a lot of times people will be like, they're in default.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember, our broker always saying, let's slow down, and do they still want to make the deal happen?
Right.
Like, just because somebody's in default or somebody, doesn't mean you have to rush out to judgment, this and that. Oh, do they still want to sell, and do they still want to buy? Like,
Right.
be reasonable people and try to work it out. So I'm so glad you kind of brought up that point, that our goal is for the best case scenario for everybody involved, not to try to transfer earnest money to people here and there. Like, that's not
exactly. That is not the goal. We want everybody to buy a house. And so while it throws people off their pattern to switch, I'm like, well, at least it, because they'll call me all worried. I'm like, well, they're trying to buy the house, so this is a good thing. They're trying to figure out another way. They're trying to problem solve, which is what you want. It may not be the way you wanted to close. It might not be the timeline. It might mean we have to, stretch things out a little bit more and make some other, concessions. But if in the end everybody gets to the closing table, then that's a win. And so it's a shift in being able to do that on the fly. So it's not just, okay, we're done negotiating, past inspection, past appraisal, and we just smooth sail to closing. No, this is when that being a professional really counts, because this is when you're having bumps in the road, and you have to be able to pivot.
Well, and I think, and Holly, great point too, because I did learn that once I started, when I came over on this side, and I learned, okay, do they still want to buy a house? Does the seller still want to sell? That's like first thing that always did pop in my head. And I'm just thinking, okay, stay calm. Let's give this a chance. But in the event it doesn't work out, what happens? Which is kind of what I was like, because I wasn't 100% sure. I'm like, well, I guess they are in default. So then how would I then explain it to my sellers? Well, this is what's happening, and then let's go for this. But if it doesn't, this is what happens. Like, can we remain calm and just know it going forward? So it sounds like to me, though, that if they are in default, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the broker, but if they're in default and then say they can't get financed, then I guess they're in jeopardy of losing their earnest money. The buyers are.
At that point, then we say, okay, this isn't going to work. We tried the other angles, and then you can pursue earnest money. Both agents are actually entitled to commission paid by the defaulting party too. And some agents pursue that and some don't. It kind of depends on how things went.
If you're on the buyer's side, though, I wonder how and this comes with conversations with your whole entire team, I think, right? Like with your buyer, and okay, let's look down the road, because if you do try to, how do you protect your buyers so that they are not at jeopardy of losing anything in this kind of market?
Absolutely. I think that's where being that professional, having the great professional team, with you comes into play, that you're the agent that is already thinking, hey, I got you qualified back in March, then we didn't start looking till June, and then now you're finding a house end of July. Before we move forward and actually start writing offers, you're on top of the market and real estate trends enough that we need to be in touch with the lender again. Let's just double check. Let's make sure that this home, because as a professional, you don't want to put your buyer in jeopardy of being too cash strapped, buying a house that's gonna not let them be able to go out for dinner and do anything. So you want to do that and have that lender that you can reach right away and give them that good advice, not just, yes, you can get a higher loan, we can qualify you realistically, and have the same cash flow that your buyer wants.
And
I
the
would
listing
hope.
the listing agents need to be reviewing all their pens, everything that's pending right now. And
Mhm.
reaching out to, the buyer's agent and the lender. We all get the lender information. It's in the contract. So,
Yes.
call the lender, being that, and don't just do it behind the scenes. I just do want to say that I think a lot of great agents, really professional, top notch, and there's a ton of them out there, but they do a lot of this stuff and then they don't tell their clients all the great stuff that they do behind the scenes for them. And you need to be demonstrating those things and letting them know, hey, I'm being proactive and intentional. Especially if we get paid a lot. People are like, what am I paying an agent for? Well, if we keep everything secret, nobody's going to want to pay the commission. So make sure that you are also telling your client what you're doing on their behalf every step of the way.
Yeah.
From
Absolutely.
closing, negotiating, everything.
It's a great idea, depending on what each agent does. If you have whether it's a software or just reminders, to have those regular updates. I mean, you're going to check in with the lender, at certain days a week. Give you same thing, follow up and send a quick note to your buyer, seller, whichever side it is. Hey, just want to let you know I checked in with your lender today. Everything's fine. Or this happened. Just keep people updated, because you're doing so much as an active professional. Don't let them think that you are just sitting back and relaxing from inspection to closing. Let them know everything you're doing.
184 tasks we do for them for every real estate transaction.
That's right. I remember your list.
184,
Yes.
remember?
Yes, they're not aware, but 184, that is so true.
And if you build those into little templated emails or even better videos that you can use over and over again, so you can keep those the videos generic, but just with the topic, and put those into a schedule that when it occurs, it goes out. That's just a great way. And even every agent does all these things, but the ones that communicate it to the sellers are the sellers that are like, wow, my agent does so much more than anybody else.
Yes, those are the ones that are winning, that they're actually doing what they say they're going to do, and then
the
communicating it.
Exactly. So it's just it's a win-win all the way around. And I find a lot
I
of
love your idea of the automation. I think that is genius. If you don't pay for a software or something that does it for you, create it, make your life easier. You're going to hopefully do the same tasks in every transaction. Set it up on autopilot, have someone do that for you. You need to let people know. It's just informing, communicating everything. That reminds me of what Lori was saying about, letting your sellers know when if something like that is going on, and thinking they're going to worry, or are they just ready to collect earnest money because things are going wrong. Be honest with them. Say, yes, technically they're in default, but then quickly say, but my goal as your realtor is to get your house sold, and so I'm going to still keep working for that. So be upfront with them.
Yeah.
But let them know, these are the steps. I've already contacted this person and this person. I'm working on this. I know this about the market. So you can communicate that, yes, there's a bump in the road, but I know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So, all right, well, believe it or not, we're coming to the end of our little
Wow.
time.
I'm so
believe-
glad you keep a timer, because I was like,
know.
sometimes it goes by so fast, and I'm
Yes.
like, oh, I wasn't sure. So, all right, it's like days of our lives.
The days of real estate.
Yeah.
So definitely, folks, feel free to comment with other challenges and opportunities that you are facing as we go through this change. Take 5 is going to be all about the pricing conversation. And I had a great conversation today with one of our top agents. And I said, so is it the same old, same old? Has the market changed? She's like, oh yeah, it's just math problems. You know, the clients just have trouble with math. So I'm just helping them understand the new math. And I thought it was just a great way for her to say that. But we will be talking about pricing on Take 5, which will be coming out soon. But definitely load us up with those challenges and opportunities, and we would love to bring it onto the show and pull it apart and see who's on what side of what, because that's always fun. Today, I think we're all on the same side. So as always, we like to end these with takeaways for you, things that you can take away, go implement. Talked about a lot of good ideas, so we're just going to each kind of wrap it up with one. I'll start, and I'll take the property tax one. So great way for you to reach out and say, have you received your property tax bill that'll be coming due in the fall? Did it go up drastically? Do you know how to evaluate? Would you like to look at the option of appealing it? If you as a realtor do not know that process in your county, go find out. Go become that expert. Ask around your office if you haven't done this. A lot of agents do this on a regular basis. They already have a video for it. So that's something that you can also put into place. And again, your clients will appreciate it. You'll probably get referrals just because you reached out without asking them to buy or sell or asked for a referral. The more interest you take in your clients, the more interest they'll take in helping you grow. So Lori, what is your takeaway for folks today?
Mine is be as proactive with your buyers and sellers as possible. We just talked about this buyer scenario. We just got into default and who would lose. You know what? You have a team. You have your lender team. You have your insurance team. Make sure. How important is it with your strategies with your buyers and or sellers? Make sure you're talking about the whole entire game. Like, you got to see the field out there, right? You've got to know, you as a professional, you've done this a million times, right? You know from beginning to end how it begins and how it ends. They're not always familiar with it. Make sure you're communicating with them along the way and make sure you foresee. All right, interest rates are, they seem volatile. So what can you do? Get with your lender and make sure you guys have a plan in place. And you need to have a conversation with your lender and ask them, all right, are they good at this? If it goes up to here, is it going to bump them out of their zone and we got a whole other problem going on? You need your partners, and you need your partners to make it successful for your buyers and your sellers. So that's what I would encourage. It's like, you know your stuff, which you do, but know your team and how your team is going to help you so you can protect both sides.
Perfect. And
Great.
Lisa, what's your takeaway?
I'm going to piggyback on Lori's thing. Yes, use your team of professionals, your lender, like she mentioned, and then your insurance agent, making sure people are properly insured and covered for the new values that they're taking care of. I think this is a great, again, we'd like to talk about the opportunity. I think these are great opportunities as you're reaching out to your database and saying, hey, let me help you with your tax appeal. Hey, let me help make sure that you're insured for the right amount. Great chance to say, hey, do you think any of your neighbors would also want this? Probably so, right? Everyone's probably out in the cul-de-sac talking about how high their tax bills are.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with it, or they had to file an insurance claim and things were wrong. So offer it to all of their friends. It's your chance to be the trusted advisor to your community.
I love it. And just one more thing I'm going to add in for pricing, just to kind of get you interested in this little bit, is your buyers have a lot more choice now. So things are going to be really interesting as people are going under contract under stressful situations, multiple offer situations, and they feel like they just have to get this house, there's nothing else, then they get under contract. And then they're still on saved searches, or they're still out there looking around on all the automated property updates, and something else hits their inbox and they're like, how can I get out of this house? Because that one looks better. So we're going to talk about that next time.
Yes.
So be thinking
Yes.
about that. And if you have any real life examples, we want to see you on the next Coaches on Call. So thanks, everybody. This was take 4.
Or
Yes.
Take 4. We're getting there. Thanks for hopping in, everybody, and we will see you soon.